login and call-in information posted on our website. Tonight's video and audio is being recorded. For tonight's meeting, Robert's rules will still apply, and the meeting will be run by the chairman, who will be assisted by an employee managing the Zoom site. During the meeting, in order to offer comment, you must first be recognized by the chairman. For people utilizing Zoom, you must use the chat function to be recognized. Text your name and address. Your request to speak will then be passed on by staff to the chairman to be recognized. Once recognized by the chairman, you will unmute your microphone, and after speaking, we ask that you please mute your microphone. East Hempfield Township's public comment rules will apply for all public comment. You must be a resident or business owner in the township to speak. You must identify yourself by name and address before speaking and sign the guest log for meeting minute purposes, or follow the chat procedure already discussed for Zoom attendance. Comment is limited to 3 minutes and must be about the agenda item being discussed, with the exception of public comment for non-agenda items. Please note that no action will be taken on any non-agenda item of a non-emergency nature during the public comment period. All comments should be directed towards the board. We will now move on to our first agenda item, and I ask you to join me and rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item up for agenda is Police Week proclamation. I will read the proclamation and then I'll open it up to our board members for a few comments. 2023 Police Week proclamation. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of law enforcement agency of East Hempfield Township Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of citizens of East Hempfield Township. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibility of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the East Hempfield Township Police Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency, which increasingly provides a vital public service. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors call upon all citizens of East Hempfield Township and upon all patriotic, civil, educational organizations to observe the week of May 15th through May 21st, 2023 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to the responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their community, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. We further call upon all citizens of East Hempfield Township to observe Monday, May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and honor those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in their performance of their duty. Mr. Lefevre, any comments?
I will comment. One of the most significant benefits of my serving as a supervisor in East Hempfield Township has been the association with our police force. On different occasions at different times, we are truly fortunate in East Hempfield for the team that we have serving us. And I say thank you.
Okay, well, I'd just like to say that I think I speak for everyone here that we greatly appreciate all the efforts that the police in this room and out on the call. You know, it's interesting tonight when I pulled in here, there was an emergency call somewhere. And it's a very professional and reliable staff that we have. And I want to thank everyone for all of you for that. The other thing I'd like to say is I want to thank the families and family members who support our police. I'm sure it's, you know, they couldn't do it without it. And we couldn't do it without, we can't do it without it. It's part of the fabric, I think, of what happens here in our community. So again, I want to thank you for that.
Well said, and I'm a man of few words, so I will just say thank you for all that you do.
I'd also like to add, again, it's no secret in recent years, law enforcement has come under attack nationwide. And when you look at our officers, I would encourage you to see that there's more than just a uniform. Husbands, fathers, wives, mothers. They are neighbors, the persons that sit next to us at church. They're little league coaches. They are good citizens. They care about their community and they're friends. So let's be determined that we spread that perspective in our community. So I'm going to ask everyone here if you would please rise and stand up and show a round of applause for those that have served us.
We would need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Got carried away and we did not adopt the motion. So thank you. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-14 proclaiming May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week of May 15th as Police Officer Week?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. LaFever. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get into the awards that we're here for tonight, I'd like to take a moment to recognize police officers in general. As has already been articulated, in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. This was established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962. National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for safety and protection of others. If you would, I know we've had a round of applause for the officers here, but if we could have a moment of silence to honor the memory of the officers and families and friends that they have left behind. Thank you. Tonight, we will present the annual Community Policing Award and the 2022 Officer of the Year Award. In addition, I want to mention that throughout the last year, numerous other awards have been presented for some form of outstanding performance by our officers. These circumstances have ranged from acts of bravery to saving lives through the use of Narcan and the handling of major incidents, which we certainly were not short of last calendar year. All of those awards have been issued throughout the year. I just want to note them. We're not going to read all of them tonight, but there were quite a number of awards, some of which were also recognized at some of the board meetings. 2022 presented a lot of change within our agency due to promotions, hiring, staffing. The ship stayed afloat due to the dedication to the agency that this group of officers that we have here tonight. Their sacrifice that they made personally, professionally, for the betterment of the township that we've sworn to protect and serve. Many of these officers worked long days, had a lot of overtime to supplement shifts, as well as the handling of major investigations that we had last year to the best of our ability. New roles had to be learned, and we appreciate the patience that officers had as roles were learned and transitions took place. So to all of you, I thank you. In addition, as Mr. Bennett mentioned, all of this could not have taken place without the support of family members that are all here tonight. This meeting often brings all of us together. It's not too often due to shift work that all the shifts can come out today, spouses, family. It means a lot to know that when the officers go home, that the family support is there for them. Means a lot and makes our officers and our staff the best that we can be. So to all the family that has taken the time to come out tonight, I thank you as well for the support that you've shown to your spouses, your fathers throughout the year. The first award that we're going to present tonight is the Community Policing Award. This award is an annual award to an employee who developed community partnerships, identified and solved problems, implemented new initiatives and programs, or promoted meaningful results from partnerships, and problem-solving skills.
This year, Officer Brennan Stam is the recipient of the award. Brennan Stam has been an East Hempfield Township police officer since 2013. Throughout his career, Officer Stam has proven himself to be a professional, diligent, and caring officer. In the spring of 2022, he took on a new challenge when he was selected to become school resource officer at Hempfield High School. This was after the previous SRO, Tim Marks, decided to step away from the assignment at the end of the school year. This position created a wonderful opportunity for Officer Stam to fully utilize his skills. The SRO position is one of, if not the most demanding position within the police department, and Officer Stam has fully embraced the role. Officer Stam serves as a liaison between the police department and the school community. He enforces the law when the situation requires such action, but also utilizes listening skills and mediation to remedy problems. In his relatively short time at the high school, Officer Stam has gained the respect and trust of students and staff alike. His calm and friendly demeanor, a good listening ear, and problem-solving skills have served him well. The SR role is not just that of a police officer. It is, among other things, teacher, social worker, coach, problem solver, and even friend. On any given day at the school, Officer Stam may be found interacting with students in the hallways or cafeteria, presenting law enforcement-related topics to a class, mediating a dispute, or providing life advice to a student. It's all in a day's work for Officer Stam. Just last week, he accompanied students on a field trip to Refreshing Mountain. Officer Stam also coordinates the police department youth aid panel, which in lieu of charges offers juveniles accused of criminal behavior an alternative to the traditional criminal justice system. The goal of the youth aid panel is to hold juveniles accountable for their actions, while at the same time providing the opportunity to improve themselves and hopefully not find themselves in legal trouble again. Officer Stam's efforts consistently provide young people with a favorable impression of law enforcement. He shows them that police officers can be trusted and that they are human too. For his outstanding dedication to the youth of our community, Officer Stam was without a doubt a worthy recipient of this award. Brennan, could you please come forward and accept the award?
I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but we do have two representatives from the school that Brennan works with and interacts with on a daily basis. So no pressure, but if either one of you have a comment. Sure. All right.
Thank you, Chief Brubaker. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Bromerski, Superintendent, Hempfield School District. I want to thank all the officers and their families for your continued support of the school district and working with us to help keep our students in this community safe. And on behalf of the district, we could not be more proud to be working with Officer Stam. He took on this role as SRO with excitement, positivity, and a ton of passion. And he has far exceeded all expectations. And he jumped in right away at the beginning of the school year. He works very closely with Bill Gleason, our Director of Safety and Security in the district. You have developed such strong, positive relationships, not only with our staff, but more importantly, our students. I was just with our student council and was asking about, the SRO role and with Officer Stam being new. And overwhelmingly, they all said it is absolutely wonderful that you take the time to get to know them, to talk to them at their level. But more importantly, they love seeing you all around the building, not just in the cafeteria. And so all of your efforts, as well as the partnership that we have with the East Hempfield Township Police Department, truly does make Hempfield School District a positive place and a safe place for our students. So thank you. This is well deserved. Congratulations.
Next award is the 2022 Officer of the Year. The annual Kenneth Nightinger Award honors Kenny's legend. Kenny left us too soon and is greatly missed. We thank his mom, Marlene, who often attends these meetings on this day, but unfortunately was not able to attend tonight. This award is presented to the officer, regardless of rank or assignment, that best exemplifies the department's sworn personnel during the year. The selection is based upon professionalism and exemplary service by the officer. Every officer should feel worthy of being selected based on his or her own performance during the previous year. But each year, one officer is chosen.
This year, Officer Chad Nagel was the recipient of the award. Officer Chad Nagel is a 23-year veteran police officer for East Hempfield Township. He currently serves as an officer in charge for A Platoon. Officer Nagel serves as a firearms and taser instructor and continues to provide firearms training and taser certification to the entire department. As a Glock handgun, AR rifle, and Mossberg armor, Chad provides yearly routine checks and maintenance on our firearms. In regards to his training style, he has the utmost respect of his peers and those he instructs. Those who are aware of Officer Nagel's prior military experience understand that he has the experience that few have in regard to his exposure to combat and critical incidents. It is no surprise, given Chad's military and tactical experience, that Officer Nagel is a deputy commander for the Lancaster County CERT team. As such, in 2022, he responded to or assisted with coordinating 14 CERT callouts across the county for multiple high-risk warrant services, armed, barricaded, and/or suicidal suspects. 2 of these callouts involved the apprehension of a homicide suspects. One of them, most notably, was in our township in September of last year, where an armed, barricaded suspect was firing upon our officers after killing his girlfriend. After officers were fired upon, Officer Nagel was the initial point of contact for the CERT team activation and helped coordinate the response, which led to the apprehension of the suspect. The other homicide suspect was a cold case homicide arrest in conjunction with the Lancaster County detectives, which occurred on Faulkner Drive within the township. Officer Nagel was on an arrest team that in that incident was able to calmly and quickly take the suspect into custody. During 2022, Officer Nagel continued to provide training for active assailant responses in the community, as well as to other agencies. In January of this year, Officer Nagel met with staff at the new Ducklings Preschool on Yellow Goose Road and provided a security assessment and policy review for response to active assailant incidents. In March, Officer Nagel participated as an instructor in the Stop the Bleed seminar at the Hempfield Rec Center, and he also provided active shooter security evaluation training to Homestead Village and their staff. In June, Officer Nagel also provided active shooter training to the Landisville pool staff, and in July, he provided the same training at Utilimaster. In October, Officer Nagel was at the Ducklings Preschool and provided active shooter instruction to staff. And later the same month, he was at the Hempfield High School and provided active shooter instruction to the entire student body, where he was commended for his presentation. Officer Nagel received praise from Chief John Kottmeyer, who is East Hempfield Township Fire Chief, for his presentation to supervisors during the Stop the Bleed seminar at the Hempfield Rec Center. Chief Kottmeyer relayed that Officer Nagel did an excellent job as an excellent representative of our police department. Although Officer Nagel is known for his tactical experience, he is both very approachable and brings humor to bad situations, and he also has a kind side he does not like to admit to. For example, in February, Officer Nagel received a letter from a citizen stating he was the most professional officer he has ever dealt with. The author of the letter was involved in a vehicle accident and spoke of how respectful and kind Officer Nagel was to him. Another example would be in July of last year, where Officer Nagel did an excellent job on dealing with an individual who was experiencing a mental health issue. Officer Nagel established a rapport with the subject by using his own life experience and was complimented by the caller for his professionalism and demeanor. On March of last year at 23:22 hours, Officer Nagel and his platoon responded to a homicide on Spring Valley Road. Chief Brubaker awarded a unit citation to Officer Nagel and all responding officers stating, and I quote, "Everyone being recognized with a unit citation played a vital role in this investigation in some capacity. Teamwork at its finest, no part was a small part. The initial response, quick arrest, evidence processing, and thorough investigation afterward were done professionally and ensured the integrity of this investigation and provided closure and justice to the family. It also ensured the community that we did not have a dangerous criminal at large. Officer Nagel was one of the initial responding officers, quickly ensured the scene was safe, obtained initial vital information from the victim's father. Even after the initial response, Officer Nagel's effective and professional testimony in the subsequent criminal proceeding helped to ensure the suspect was held accountable. Officer Nagel is always willing to assist in situations or events that could have negative outcomes. In May of last year, Officer Nagel volunteered to cover a school board meeting where controversial topics would be discussed that had the potential for problems. Officer Nagel is consistently and always relied upon as the officer to call. Things have gone from bad to worse. We have lost count of how many times he has been called by other agencies for advice on how to proceed and respond to critical incidents that they are experiencing. June of last year, Officer Nagel responded to a burglary at UPS with other members of the shift. Officer Nagel was the first arriving officer and discovered there were multiple burglars inside the building. He quickly relayed their position to responding officers, and the quick response, subsequent coordination, and teamwork led to the apprehension of two of the burglars. Officer Nagel has always been an educator and trainer. In July, he met with all the platoons and provided roll call training on certain protocols and response to all platoons that they were all prepared for these type of critical incidents. Additionally, in regards to the department and the CERT response to the homicide on Swar Road last September, Officer Nagel did not just stop when the incident was over. He prepared an after-action review on this critical incident to ensure that all knew what happened and to provide additional instruction and training. Officer Nagel has always had the mindset of preparation. He wants to ensure all officers, regardless of rank, know how to respond, but also can we learn and improve from our responses, no matter how effective they are. Officer Nagel is an individual that has an immense amount of tactical knowledge, but when training is humble and patient with everyone, regardless of their skill level. He always has the goal of making us better. 2022 is just a small snapshot of the number of incidents, training, and community involvement preparation that Officer Nagel has provided. For as long as I can remember, Officer Nagel has served this way, and I believe it is important that he is recognized for his ongoing dedicated service to both the department and the community for which he serves. Chad, if you would please come forward.
Thank you. Good job. Well done.
In addition to the plaques and certificate, Chad has been given a very nice watch. Just want to give a plug to Finch Jewelers, who year after year after year, even though their business is no longer in East Hempfield Township, continues to support law enforcement and our award program here. So we picked out a special camo watch just for Chad. We thought we would like that. He would like that one. So that wraps up the annual awards on behalf of the police department. So thank you for providing the opportunity and the platform. And thank you for everybody that showed their support tonight and your support all the time for the department and the officers. Thank you.
We'll give it a minute or two for the room to clear out.
I know, I heard. Well, this is a night because we were booked. We have another hearing in Mountjoy Township. And it's a crazy night tonight.
No problem.
Congratulations, Brennan.
Yeah, a little bit.
Up next on our agenda is a public hearing for 206 Roarstown Road. Consideration of conditional use approval for building 15, proposed industrial building containing more than 10,000 square feet in the RCC zone.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to,
Yes, can I
or
turn
you
it
want me to
over?
give some instructions?
Yes,
Okay.
that'd be great.
So for the audience's information, this is a public hearing on a conditional use application. The board sits tonight as a quasi judicial body. An application has been presented and the board will hear the application much like a court would hear a case. And at the end, they will have an opportunity to render a decision. The board will hear the case in a somewhat informal manner. The applicant will present evidence in the form of testimony or exhibits or both. Anyone who expects to make a statement for or against the application will be sworn or affirmed prior to making their statement. The testimony this evening is being recorded stenographically. It's important that only one person speak at a time. When we begin, we'll have the applicant present their case through their witnesses and submission of evidence. When they have completed their application, they will then be subject to questions from the members of the supervisors, from me as a solicitor, from staff, and from anyone who is interested in the application. Although anyone may ask questions of the applicant, to the extent anyone is interested in the application, they may consider becoming a party to the case. To be a party to the case, they must be affected by the application. And if there is such a request, we'll pause and consider whether party status should be awarded. At the completion of the hearing, the board will consider voting upon the application. The board must vote upon a decision within 45 days after the close of the hearing. Before we begin, I would just like Mrs. Schweitzer to confirm on the record for us was notice of tonight's hearing properly advertised in accordance with the MPC, and was the property posted? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. So with that, we'll have the applicant begin.
Good evening. I'm Claudia Shank. I'm an attorney with McNeese, Wallace and Nurick. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicant 206 Roarstown Road, LP. I'm joined tonight by Chris Vanarchik with RGS Associates, who is the land planner for the project, as well as by Eric Scott, who is here on behalf of the developer. So I'd like to start out with just providing a brief overview of the property and the project that we're here to discuss tonight. If you turn to Exhibit 1 in the packets that I distributed, you'll see image, the same as what is on the screen in front of you, and this shows the property that we're here to discuss. The property is currently comprised of 2 lots. So the larger lot, you can see outlined here, the existing lot line is right here where this little Z is joining the lots, and the smaller lot located in this location. The properties currently are 11 acres and 4.5 acres roughly, and the proposal is to consolidate them into a single 15-acre tract, which will be developed with a medical office building and two warehouse buildings. So the board previously approved a plan related to this project in October 2021. At that time, we had also made a minor adjustment to the zoning line for the property. This property is a split zone tract of land. So you have enterprise zoning, and you can see this line here designates the split in the zoning. You have enterprise zoning located here, and then regional commercial zoning located here. And this is the part of the property that we're here to discuss this evening that's proposed for development. In terms of the project itself, if you flip to Exhibit 2 in your packet, the second sheet, you'll see a rendering of the proposed development. So there's a 60,000-foot warehouse building, what's referred to as Building 18 in our plans, located here. Down to the south along Embassy Drive are buildings 14 and 15. Building 14 is a medical office building, 26,900 square feet. And building 15 is really what we're here to talk about tonight. It's a 39,498 square foot warehouse manufacturing building. As I previously stated on the prior iteration of this plan that the board approved, building 15 was shown as a medical office building. That was a permitted use within this zoning district. But by changing to a warehouse manufacturing type use, we move ourselves into a conditional use process. Because the building is over 10,000 square feet in size, that requires conditional use under your zoning ordinance. As I mentioned, this building 18 here, larger building, same use, does not, simply because it's right on the other side of this zoning line here, separating the enterprise zone and the RCC zone. So with that, by way of background, I'm going to have Mr. Vanarchik come forward. I'll have him walk you through the site plan for the proposed development.
Okay, we're gonna have Chris sworn in. Okay.
I do.
Can you state your name for the record?
Chris Vanarchik.
And could you turn to Exhibit 3 in the exhibit packet and tell me if that is a current copy of your CV?
Yes.
How are you employed?
Principal at RGS,
How long have you been employed in that capacity?
around 25 years.
What are your responsibilities at RGS?
I oversee multiple facets of land planning ranging from site assessment, zoning matters, design and construction document preparation.
Can you briefly describe your educational background?
Bachelor's degree of landscape architecture at Penn State University.
And are you familiar with the property that is the subject of this application?
Yes.
Have you personally visited the property?
Yes.
Have you previously been qualified as an expert in municipal land use proceedings in Lancaster County?
Yes.
Would ask the board to recognize Mr. Vanarchik as an expert in landscape architecture and land planning.
We'll do that.
Yes.
So can you please identify the property that's the subject of the application? It might be helpful here to move back to Exhibit 2, which is the rendering.
Yes, as stated in the opening testimony, we're specifically here for Building 15. And as stated, Building 15 is showing at 39,400 some square feet. The ordinance states that if over 10,000 square feet, we would need a conditional use application for it. So similar to the original plan for Lime Springs Square, we had the buildings situated along Embassy Drive. The plan has been just slightly modified to essentially address the market for what's been proposed on the property.
And your office prepared this plan that is Exhibit 2.
Yes,
Did you also prepare, or did you assist in the preparation of what's been marked as Exhibit 4, which is the complete conditional use plan set that was submitted with the application?
yes.
Could you please briefly walk the board through the improvements that are associated with this proposed development?
Sure. Again, as shown on the rendering there, you can see there are 3 buildings proposed within the 15 acres of the parcel. Starting with building 14, again, about 26,900 square feet, moving west along Embassy Drive, building 15, the subject building, and then to the northwest, building 18, which actually is partially under construction today. So 3 buildings in total, and then they all have associated parking, drive aisles, and then access out to Embassy Drive. Total access points are 3, and stormwater management is handled by collection and conveyance to the north to stormwater management facilities that are depicted on the plan there along the floodplain. And there are utilities provided by connections to both public sewer and water. And we have run a truck turning model through the site to ensure that emergency services can circulate through the property. And loading has been provided for buildings 15 and 18.
And the loading for building 15 is there to the rear of the building, correct? Have you reviewed the requirements for general industrial uses in the township zoning ordinance?
Yes,
And in your professional opinion as a land planner, does the proposed development comply with those requirements as well as other requirements in the ordinance governing the proposed use?
yes.
Can you describe the general character of the area where the property is located?
Yeah, so building 15, as you see, is situated in an area as today, the site has been generally, I'll call it pad graded for development. It drains generally from south to north towards the floodplain. The office building to the, I'm sorry, not the office, the warehousing building, light industrial to the west, noted on the plan is lot number 1, is about a 60,000 square foot use. And then to the north, again, is about 80,000 square feet, noted as lot 3, which is the Penn State Medical Office Building. And then directly across the street to the south, shown there is lot number 7, is today about a 220,000 square foot warehouse building.
So in your opinion, again, as a land planner, are the proposed uses in keeping with the general character of the area where the property is located?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the proposed use affect the enjoyment or the use of the nearby lots?
No.
Was a traffic assessment prepared for the proposed development?
Yes.
And have you flipped to what's been marked as Exhibit 5 in your packet? And could you just identify that document for me?
Yes, that's a traffic assessment prepared by Traffic Planning and Design, where they looked at buildings 14, 15, and what was identified as 18 in the original plan for Lime Spring Square, as well as what's now proposed on the plan you see above you.
So in summary, these lots, as the board knows well, are part of a much larger development project, correct?
Yes,
And there was an initial traffic study that was done in 2016 for this entire development of this property.
yes,
And so the purpose of this analysis was to compare the assumptions for these uses and the traffic they would generate with the actual trip generation for the uses that are now being proposed.
correct.
And in making that comparison, what conclusion is reached in the TPD letter dated March 29th, 2023?
TPD identified that the proposed plan and the uses will generate less traffic than originally assumed and shown in their prior 2016 report.
And in fact, some retail had been assumed in the 2016 report for this area, which of course would be a higher trip generator, correct?
Correct.
Did you review the township's comprehensive plan in preparing this application?
Yes,
And in your opinion, is the proposed development consistent with the comprehensive plan?
yes. Growing together emphasizes the importance of promoting development in appropriate areas with required public infrastructure with it, which this site does. It's surrounded by that.
If the board approves the conditional use request this evening, what are the next steps?
If successful with the conditional use, our next step would be that we would go through the land subdivision and land development process, prepare that plan, submit it where it would come before the township planning commission and board of supervisors again.
And where are we in that process right now?
The plans have been prepared and are ready to be reviewed by the township.
And in fact, I think if this application is approved, you'll be seeing those back before you pretty shortly here. Mr. Hain has reviewed those plans. I will be providing some testimony for Mr. Scott, but I'll just pause now if there are any questions specifically for Mr. Vinarchik.
Now I have a question about traffic. And actually building 15, as I remember reviewing the information for this evening, there is a question about the ultimate occupant and the nature of their endeavors and whether the township would reserve right on that question. Would you address that, please?
I think Mr. Scott perhaps will address that better as part of his testimony.
Very well.
Mr. Bennett, any questions?
You know, my concern had to do with traffic, and I think the traffic issues have been addressed. It's interesting that there's going to be less trips. So I think we're in good place.
Mr. Weaver?
I didn't have any concerns.
I have none.
Mr. Scott, would you like to come up?
I do.
Can you introduce yourself to the board?
Yep. My name's Eric Scott. I'm Senior Vice President of Real Estate Operations with Oak Tree Development Group.
What information can you share about the proposed use of this property?
The tenant will actually be Direct Wire, who is the occupant of Building 18. It will serve as a sister building for their wire and cable manufacturing operation. So about a day early, we have at least an executable form and expect it to be signed tomorrow. We have a lease in executable form and expect to have it executed tomorrow.
And so you're anticipating that the use and occupancy of building 15 will be very similar to what is proposed and contemplated for building 18?
Yes, consistent, almost exactly the same.
And to your knowledge, will the proposed facility have any noise contamination, air pollutants, anything of that nature that would be atypical of a normal use of this type?
No.
The staff has presented the development team with some proposed conditions of approval that are marked as Exhibit 6 in the exhibit packet. Have you reviewed those conditions with council?
Yes.
And are you comfortable with those conditions, and would you accept those as conditions on an approval if granted tonight?
Yes.
I don't have any additional questions. Mr. LaFever, if you have more specific questions, Mr. Scott may be able to address them.
My question is whether this plan or those that you referred to that are farther developed have been reviewed by public safety of East Hempfield Township for access. I'm seeing a nod from staff, so, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, Mr. Weaver?
None.
I have none.
Okay,
We have no further testimony.
okay. So at this point, you should open it up for any questions from the public.
Is there anyone here that has questions or would like to speak in reference to this plan? Seeing and hearing none, is there anyone on Zoom?
Okay, so if there's none at this point, I would recommend that you close the hearing and then you can decide whether you want to render a decision tonight or at a future date.
Okay, so we will close the hearing at 7:44 PM. Gentlemen, I don't have a problem with this. I think we could take action tonight, but I'll defer to the rest of the board.
Yep.
Ms. LaFever? Okay. Is there a motion to grant the conditional use application to allow general industrial use for building 15 in the Lime Square mixed-use development, subject to the conditions as presented? Motion by Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Weaver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Okay, well, we have a relatively light agenda, one that I have not seen ever since I've been on the board. There are no action items for us this evening. So with that, we'll go to old business. Is there any?
Consent agenda question, please.
Okay. And I would was so excited that I skipped our consent agenda. Thank you. Mr. LaFever, you had a question.
Yes, Mrs. Schweitzer, there is a payment in the invoices to, I believe it's Lancaster Trophies for a plaque.
Mhm.
What is the nature of the plaque and where will it be used?
Those are the plaques from the police department's presentations this evening.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm glad we could pay for it.
Any other questions, comments regarding the consent agenda?
None.
Okay. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. LaFever, is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Is there any old business to be discussed? Hearing none. Any new business? Hearing none. Public comment. Is there any public comment for tonight? Okay, we have two. So we're going to start with Mrs. LaFever, if you want to come up and.
I want to tell the board about a very good experience I had this morning. I belong to a women's group that support women's education. And we had a terrific speaker this morning from the East Hempfield Township Police. And they were thrilled that East Hempfield has a female police chief. And she did a terrific job telling us about all the things that we can do to protect ourselves, to be more careful in the community, and just very good safety information for us. And I want to thank her and thank the East Hempfield Township for having such a great police chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Diana Ludwig, and I live at 831 Founder's Way in the New Traditions of America development. Go ahead.
Ray Octor, 827 Founder's Way, same development.
Our homes back up to Hayden Manor behind us. And I wanted to, yesterday afternoon, quite a few of the neighbors, myself included, came to the East Hempfield Township Police regarding the noise disturbances at 3017 Morning Thistle Court in Hayden Manor. And the two officers were aware of the house and in question and were helpful in directing us for a plan of action to try to curb the noise that's coming from there. So this is what they suggested that we do. Number one, attend an East Hempfield meeting tonight, and in order to create a record of complaint. So here we are. Number two, to start documenting dates and times of disturbances. This includes positions of the bright lights that are on the basketball court in their backyard, the loud music, the screaming, the foul language, the ball dribbling, and all that stuff. And it happens day and night. Purchase and mount a video camera to create a passive recording so that I can actually send video to Officer Brown and he can create a case. And also call the police at their non-emergency number when there is a disturbance. And if this is an okay plan of action, this is what we plan to do.
Can I ask that you be a little more specific, like what's going on, what type of noise? And it sounds like it's a repeated thing. Is this like one person's resident? Is this?
This is one person's residence. I'm not trying to be that neighbor that complains about everything. They have a blended family, an array of kids of different ages from about 4th, 5th grade up, and I think one is in college. And they have, when our homes were being built, it was just their house. And as our home started getting finished, their pool came in, their basketball court with lights over top came in, the floodlights came in from the back. And it's just, they scream, they don't talk to each other. And it is the kids' house to go to in the neighborhood. And so we have just noise. And a lot of times it's happening late at night. Friday night, 2 Fridays ago, they were out there till 12:30 PM, 12:30 AM, shouting, screaming, carrying on. None of us are against anyone having, kids having a good time, but it's not laughing and talking. It's screaming. I called the police Saturday a week ago because the F word was every third word that was being shouted across the property line. And I'm 50 feet away and I can hear every single word that's being said. I'll let Ray talk.
It's been ongoing. It really started last spring when they finished the basketball court, but I mean, they can easily be out there till 1:30 in the morning and all that you hear is this ball. For hours and hours, you hear them dribbling and that's all, and we're trying to sleep and it's like in the backyard. And it's really getting to the point where it's really the safety of the children as well. They've been jumping off they go out the second floor window and jump off the roof into the pool. Obviously, the parents aren't home when this is happening, but it's just getting worse. And we're trying to curb this before the summer months get here and it gets worse.
Is there an HOA for this?
There are.
And
There is.
I did write a letter in the beginning of April to both HOAs asking for help with this. My HOA said, call the police. Their president, HOA said that they are dealing with this through regular HOA channels. And I have no idea what that means, but nothing has curbed anything yet. I just wanted to say that both officers feel that we will be able to break the cycle and get the new noise ordinance to be satisfied if we do everything that they suggested. So are we doing anything illegal?
This property is in Hayden Manor. Is it a single property?
It's single property.
Okay.
They have quite a compound behind their house. If they were out on 40 acres by themselves, they'd be fine. But it's pretty dense neighborhood right there.
And it's Hayden Manor in East Hempfield.
Yes.
So I have a question is, a basketball court, I'm a stormwater guy, so that's impervious. Generally, you have a certain amount that you're allowed to build and then you need to get additional permitting. So my question is, has any of that been checked into?
I did talk to Patrick last week and he said that they needed special drainage for that basketball court and they did that. And then I talked to a Barb in the permit office and she said that they got permits for everything. And the lighting that I'm mentioning that's over the basketball courts that shines into everybody's houses late at night, they can do whatever they want. And putting up 3 basketball nets in one court there's no problem with that. There's just lots of dribbling and that goes off of everything.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And this is Nate. They did get all the necessary permits for all the accessory structures in their backyard and the stormwater permits for the additional impervious.
Nate,
Thank
just
you.
a quick question about the lighting. I know for like new development projects, the lighting obviously can be visible from other properties, but it's supposed to illuminate only their property. Do we know if that's the case here?
I'm not entirely sure what lighting they have as far as during the permitting process on an individual lot like this. There's no restrictions within zoning or the
Okay.
building code for lighting.
They have lighting at the basketball court, but they also have floodlights on the house. The floodlights on the house do go down into their backyard, but they also hit those 2, which are actually 4 homes right in back of it. So I can go out of my bedroom at 10 o'clock at night and my room is lit up from the lights. So they're not directed, I believe, down far enough where they're actually hitting the houses in back of them.
So just be patient with us. Okay, this is going to be a challenging issue for us to deal with. As government, sometimes the best solution would be to work something out with your neighbor. We understand that that doesn't always take place. We are hesitant to get involved in neighbor disputes. You know, we do have some ordinances that, you know, address some of what you're talking about. But again, I'm sure our police department's going to be very particular and very careful before they, with what they do. So just want to give you that heads up. We're not trying to push you off or ignore you, but we just enter these type of situations very reluctantly.
I appreciate that. I do want you to know that last fall, I did go over and knock on their door, but nobody answered. And earlier in the month of April, another neighbor who was unable to be here tonight did send a letter asking for a little neighborly consideration. And we know that they got the letter, but nothing has changed. So that's where we are.
Okay.
And with all the shootings and everything that's going, I'm not walking over into somebody else's property, so.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question with that? Can you repeat the address again of the house itself? Okay, Hayden. Okay.
And just in case you want to know, the two officers were
Brown.
Officer Scolari and Officer
Valerian Brown,
Yeah.
right.
I felt they were very helpful, so.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It would seem there could be direct action, noise ordinance,
Yeah.
that's clearly in place.
I think they have a good plan of action for that.
Lighting, we dealt with on Marietta Avenue, but it still should not go outside.
So, I mean, we've heard the complaints. If staff could just do a little homework here and, you know, maybe it's worth us at least reaching out to the residents in question and just having
Conversation. That's what-
conversation to start before we escalate things to the next level. So,
And the noise ordinance starts at 9 PM. So anything after that, feel free to call us and we'll come out and start the document paper trail at that point after 9.
is there any other public comment? Any on Zoom? Okay. Managers report?
So it's an abbreviated report. You had that in your packet. It came in just today, so. But going down the list, Centerville Road South, that project, Diane did attend a contractors meeting this morning. I let her give you the update on that project.
So we did have a project coordination meeting this morning at the site office. The project is behind schedule. There's been a lot of utility holdup across the utilities. PPL has pulled crews for storm responses, and those have been pretty repetitive throughout the duration this spring. And UGI also has had some issues keeping crews on site. However, District 8's utility coordination person is now a part of the meetings and is following up with those utilities in the hopes of moving those forward. They are looking at changing the phasing of the project because of the utility holdups that are occurring. The bridge work is progressing nicely. Some of the work to the south and to the north is being impacted by those utility issues. But overall, the project is moving well. And continues to move forward. It's just readjusting to ensure that the pieces that can get done are getting done and those that are held up can be fit back in at other times.
She did add that the water line for Lancaster City has been repaired.
It's in progress,
In
yes.
progress,
And
so.
another holdup that we expect moving forward will be the Norfolk Southern issues that we have had the same with Old Roarstown Road as well. We're working through those with Old Roarstown. It's a separate process to work through again for Centerville Road. Thankfully, the contractor on both is JD Ekman, and so they're working through both processes simultaneously.
So the Church Street paving project, you'll notice if you haven't already that the roadway has been closed. That closure will last for 35 days roughly from May 1st until 35 days out, and it involves the curve. And so the closure is between Bowman and Knoll Road. The next phase will quite literally follow that afterward, and that's a 75-day closure for the culvert replacement, which is closer to the golf course and park. The 2024 construction season will then be the sidewalk and curbing and paving of Church Street.
Will that time period be over the summer,
Which time period?
the 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
They could not fit the closures into the little pocket, but the paving and sidewalk and curb, it's my understanding that it would be.
Okay.
But it is under the same contract and the provision was not provided for by PennDOT.
I mean, essentially, I think this worked out pretty close to that.
Yes.
There's obviously some overlap, but
And Diane was in very good, close conversation with the school district. They're fully aware, have made arrangements for busing and things of that nature. So. Farmingdale Road. No, Old Roarstown Road Bridge project, as was mentioned. This project is also plagued with difficulties, delays, utility related issues, Norfolk Southern issues. We're working through them slowly, but things don't seem to be going fast enough. The Farmingdale Road project, you will notice there's prep work being done at most of the intersections, primarily Orville and Good, in preparation for the mast arms that are going to be put out there for the signalization. Those mast arms are expected to be arriving in August, so you should see additional work being done as things arrive from the supply chain issues. The Dairy Road issue, Diane is in the process of reaching out to the businesses on the roadway to determine if there's any impact to their travel to and from the other bridge on Dairy Road that we currently have delineators on. Federal regulations have changed and they are standing firm on requiring us to take those delineators down and put in concrete barricades. Our concern is what does that do for the deliveries that are being done for the Dairy Road businesses. So she's working through that process. The Route 72 and Lidditz Road, the documentation, the cost estimates are in the hands of the legislators. We're waiting to hear back from them. The truck study, I reached out again to Chris Bauer at McMahon Associates. He tells me that it's on the top of his list now, so we should be getting that pretty soon. That we can then review that. The Stony Battery Trail, I took a ride out there, noting that Stony Battery Road has been paved, so that's done. Which kind of fell right into place with then the closure of Church Street, so that worked out really well. The trail itself, there are 2 areas that are stoned in, ready to be paid by some of the property owners. We still have the issue with the Kaufman end of it. That is the township's responsibility at that end. We're still waiting to hear back from the property owners in that triangle piece of property to see what they would like to do in terms of getting that clear site triangle cleared out at Kaufman and Stony Battery. And the Church Street Knoll Road Recreation Survey, we had over 550 responses for that. It's closed April 30th. Staff is currently working on consolidating and the data and getting it into a format that can be viewed. We have a Park and Rec group meeting hopefully scheduled for next week to review that documentation. And then that will be presented publicly at the meeting on the 17th. In anticipation of the open house to be happening in June.
okay.
And that concludes the report unless there's questions.
How about the pickleball court? Has it been coated?
has not, as I understand, and I saw the equipment out there today, Perry's online. They're out there drilling in the holes now. So that's the first step. Do you have a date yet, Perry, for the coating?
Yes, actually, if it stops raining, it could be as early as next week. We actually have, today we drilled the holes and we placed the post, in the ground and concreted them in. So they should be dry and ready to go by next week. And again, if the rain stops, we will hopefully have the first coat started next week. Now it's a multi-day process with the first coat going down, has to dry. Then they come back and do the second coat, has to dry, and then they will actually stripe it. And they would probably still want us to stay off it for at least a week or two. So we are looking at the end of May for this. And that was kind of the prediction that we were looking at. So
Is there a plan to keep the folks from getting onto it, wanting to use it before the coating's dry?
yes, we will just not put the nets up until it is absolutely ready to go. So
Well, that'll help. They have portable nets though, I guess.
They're fairly respectful if we tell them to stay off for a reason. Now, there are other groups that play, but
Yeah.
I mean,
It's going to be posted, right? That it's like
Yes.
wet paint
yes,
example. Like.
yeah.
we will rope it off also to keep people off there. Hopefully they'll be respectful.
Okay.
I had a quick question for you, Perry. I think at our last meeting, you were going to check into there on Stony Battery Road, that walking path. There's one section that's not done. I think it's because of an electrical line.
The PP&L has installed their new poles and they actually did the guy wire. They bridged it over top of the trail. The problem being, I think there's 3 poles that are sitting there that Comcast and Verizon have to get off of before they can be pulled. And once they're pulled, then that company will be able to pave that section and it will be done. In our process of paving Stony Battery, we are actually going to put the crossing across Knoll a while so that we can get the stop bars and everything in correctly. So we'll have our part done. It's just a matter of, I forget the exact address of the last warehouse there, but they're the ones that are kind of in the holdup.
It did look like the one, and maybe if it happened in the last couple of days, I missed it, but it does look like there is one cable there that did not have the arm to it to properly extend it over the path. And I don't know if that's somebody, they're aware of it, or if we need to notify somebody.
They did have a meeting with whoever the developer is for that one. I think they had met last week because we've really been pushing them to get rid of the poles, because in paving and moving that lane over, we actually we made the construction company put the delineators with the flashing lights on it. There is enough of a shoulder there, but I just felt more comfortable making them, have that lit up at night. But I know they did have a meeting with utilities, and it should be moving forward very shortly.
Okay. And I think I did see, was it the storage unit started there?
Yes, they're
Portion
just
of
stoned
it?
in.
Okay. So eventually we'll get there and
We will.
it'll be done. Any other questions on the manager's report? Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, well then, for the good of the order, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:10 PM.
We didn't have any action items.